welcome back to Big Blonde and Beautiful, the podcast. If you're new here, my name's Kara, and each week I pick a piece of media with fat representation in it, and I discuss the good, bad, and ugly, and whether or not I think it's positive or negative. This week, we're going to be talking about the mini iterations of Matilda. But before we get into that, I would like to introduce my guest for this episode, Angela Alba. Angela is an artist, model, and content creator. She uses her platform to advocate for body diversity and extended size representation in media, and I feel very lucky to have her today. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh my gosh, thank you for asking me to be here. I'm so excited.
Is there anything I missed when introducing you that you want people to know?
No, I mean, that was great. I mean, I wrote it, so...
I know. I was like, I always try and find what people say about themselves because I'm like, then I can't mess it up.
I have been doing less modeling and art making recently just because the modeling industry has been pretty slow. It's like, I feel like, especially for plus size representation, it's been a bit sad. And I hear it like across, like everyone is pretty much talking about it. Hopefully there'll be like some more fall openings. And
I feel like that's just a trend throughout all careers right now. Because I graduated last May with a bachelor's in media and cinema studies. And I've been applying. Thank you. I've been applying to jobs since then. And it's been over a year. Nothing.
It's been rough. Yeah.
It's
I've been hearing it everywhere too. My friends are having difficulty, so it's just unfortunately what's going on right now. So, I mean, especially like as a fat person in general, like navigating a job space, workspace is just difficult. And I feel like that's something that we're going to touch on in Matilda, like we talk about Matilda, right?
So, did you grow up watching the movies? I know you said...
So, like, I was, like, not a reader as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I watched movies. My mom, like, whenever I would be like, can you read me the story? She was like, I'm so tired. Like, I physically cannot. Like, I am sleeping. So, I never really, like, got into like book culture, but I was all about the movies, like movies like Matilda. Things that come to mind, like that I was watching around that age was like Home Alone. I was watching, like, I would call it like my snow day movies, like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Random like kids movies that like aren't really kids movies, but like are, you know what I mean?
Yes. I was a big reader growing up. I also watched a lot of movies too. So I loved Roald Dahl books. Big fan, obviously. Matilda's one, and like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, James and Giant Peach, all different types of ones. Witches is also a movie that's Roald Dahl that's really good.
I haven't seen that, actually.
There's two versions of it. There's like an older version with the woman who played Morticia in Addams Family that I can't remember her name. And then the newer ones with Anne Hathaway as like the main witch. But so I grew up with the movie. It's still a comfort movie for me. It's on Netflix right now.
Oh, yeah.
And I've only seen the musical one once.
Okay.
So I haven't watched that one a whole bunch.
I recently watched the musical, and it took me like 5 days to watch that movie. First of all, it's long.
Yes.
And I'm not the type of person who will like watch a movie in parts. Like, I want to watch the movie. I really had trouble getting through the musical. I thought the music, because this is the first time I'm hearing the music of Matilda the musical. I don't know how accurate it is compared to the show. I'm sure it's has to be missing some songs, right? Like,
it is.
Yeah, I feel like that always happens. But the music, I feel like, is hard material. It's not like an easy performance by any means. I mean, I am not like a theater kid, but like I did some. But I could tell that like having kids sing those parts was pretty hard. But some of it was just like, oh my God, awful, in my opinion. Like, some of the music was just so bad, but hard at the same time. Like, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know how like into it I should get like right off the bat.
I am a hardcore theater kid, always have been. And so they cut my favorite song from the
Oh
movie,
no.
which it made sense to cut though when I thought about it because it was more of an audience interactive. It's like the beginning of Act 2 and it's
Okay.
the dad's song and it's called Telly and he's like interacting with the audience. So it makes sense to cut, but I was still like sad because it's like such a funny song. It's so good.
And is it him just like his beloved television? I'm assuming.
Yeah, he's just like
Yeah.
talking about how we don't need books because TV is, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So what is television? It's like a billion words. And so he's like, and then he asks an audience member, like, what's your favorite book? And he does like an improv riff type thing.
I get why they cut that, but that seems like one of the most interesting parts of the musical.
Yeah, it's my favorite part. So yeah, absolutely. So you're not a fan.
Well, so I didn't love the music was really just hard for me to get through. The story, I thought it was super interesting compared to my only reference again is the original movie in 1996, I think.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, so that's my only reference. Quite a bit of changes comparatively, especially Miss Honey's story.
Mm-hmm.
There were just some like more theatrical, obviously, components there that like wouldn't make sense in a movie filmed in like Pasadena, right?
The whole circus storyline is interesting. I listen, I haven't read the book since I was a kid, so maybe it is in the book and I just don't remember. But I really don't remember that. And
the escapologist and the tightrope walker, acrobat, right?
That's what and I guess maybe the writers were just like, we need something more interesting.
Yeah,
to put on stage.
I guess if like no one knows what we're talking about, basically Miss Honey's parents were an acrobat and an escapologist in a circus, and that was a whole song and dance as well.
Yeah.
And it ties in because Miss Trunchbull was like still Magnus's sister, correct? Or
no?
Am I getting it messed up? Yeah, the mom's sister. I'm getting it messed up. But yeah, she like pretty much dares a mom to do this like really dangerous trick, which ends up in her demise. And that's how she dies. Whereas in the movie, we don't get really any backstory as to how the mom dies. Like, we just know that Miss Honey's mom isn't alive anymore. But all right, we just have to get into the fat suits. Like, let's just dive right in because
no I
can't think of anything else to talk about right now except like let's just talk about it. So I was actually listening to an interview from the actress Pam. I don't remember her last name. The actress who played Miss Trunchbull in the 1996. Yeah, who also plays the aunt in Harry Potter, one of the Harry Potter films.
Yeah, the one that blows.
Also wearing a fat suit. The interview I was watching was that it was technically not a fat suit; it was a muscle suit, which I thought was really interesting. And it's like quote unquote anatomically correct from her words. Like, I don't know how true that is. But of course, because she's this like really strong woman who competed in the Olympics with the shot put and what is it called? The
javelin.
Hammer throw. Is it?
Yeah.
Is it
hammer throw and javelin? I think she did 3.
Another one.
Yeah, shot put, hammer throw, javelin.
Her hammer throw was her like signature. Was it? Like, because like that's how she would throw the kid. Like.
The Trunchbull used to be in the Olympics. Shot put, javelin, hammer throw.
The hammer throw is her specialty.
Amanda Thrip.
Yes, Miss Trunchbull.
What are those?
What's what, Miss Trunchbull?
Hanging down by your ears.
You mean my pigtails?
Are you a pig, Amanda?
No, Miss Trunchbull.
You'll chop those off before school tomorrow, or I will come around. But! But! Did you say but?
Hammer throw.
What? Definitely.
I'll give you but.
And so like I really, as a kid watching it, I was really not privy to the fact that she was wearing any suit. I
Yeah,
had no
I just
idea.
learned this now, you telling me that she was in a
Yeah,
fat suit. I
because
didn't even know that.
because when I was watching it, obviously in a different context when we're talking about like fat representation
Mm-hmm.
slash fat phobia, I was like, okay, I need to look at like every single character who is fat or could be perceived as fat,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like Miss Trunchbull being definitely that because like
Yeah.
she's just a bigger person, right? I wouldn't even necessarily like refer to Miss Trunchbull as fat. I would just think she's like a bigger woman. Like we don't see like her body really, but she's obviously strong,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is so interesting, especially with the Olympics that just happened. There was a lot of
Mm-hmm.
like body talk, so I just thought it was interesting how um like I we had the Olympics and then I watched that and I was like, oh wow, yeah, like women can be strong and not fat, like
Mm-hmm.
and not like big and strong and
Yeah.
still be strong is what I'm trying
Mm-hmm.
to say, you know,
Yeah.
and not just like thin and muscular, right?
I don't even know what was going on with the fat suits in the musical
Yeah.
version.
The,
It was bad.
so comparatively, yeah. So okay, well, Emma Thompson's fat suit, also
Mm-hmm.
her second fat suit, which is funny, because she wears one in Love Actually, right?
Okay, I have never seen Love Actually, so
Okay, wait, that's a great movie. Well, in my opinion, one of my wedding song actually was God Only Knows, which is what they play at the end, and that's why I chose it because I was just like I love that scene in the movie when they all are hugging each other at the airport. Of course, you don't know what I'm talking about, but people who know Love
someone
Actually
will.
will know what
Yeah.
I'm talking about. Her fat suit had broader shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it was more like exaggerated. She almost kind of looked like like a sharp hourglass in a
Yeah.
sense. Like they really did her hips and they did her shoulder up. Obviously, with all the prosthetics that they did in Matilda as
Mm-hmm.
well, it was like very similar to making her out to be this like villainous character,
Yeah,
so
it was more like a
grotesque and scary.
caricature
Yeah,
type thing. Like I don't think it. I mean, most fat suits are bad, so I mean, maybe it was meant to look realistic, and they just really missed the mark. But I feel like it wasn't made to look realistic.
I can't see how
Yeah,
because when we look at the other fat suit in the movie, which is
Bruce.
Bruce's Bruce Bogtrotter, is that his name, right?
Yeah,
Okay, that's the worst fat suit I've ever seen in my entire life.
I think
Like
they.
hands
It,
down, if like I were to give this movie like one award, it would just be like the worst fat suit I've ever seen. And like there's been some horrible ones, but this one just had like no effort. If you're gonna like be super offensive with a fat suit, like spend the money. Where
I
was the
think they
budget
literally
allocation? Like,
stuffed a pillow in his shirt, and we're like, there it is.
and you think maybe because he was a kid, and they were like, we can't put like this kid in like a really hot fat
I don't
suit.
know.
Okay. Well, I guess the conversation really shouldn't be that because it's like, why didn't you
Why not
cast a
just?
fat kid?
Yeah.
Because I think it worked so much better in the 1996 movie
Mm-hmm.
of him being a fat kid,
Yeah.
like, and it's just like a correct depiction, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're gonna tell the story, this is this like we've committed to making the movie and telling the story, right? The story
Mm-hmm.
is that there's a fat kid eating cake or
Yeah.
being forced to eat cake. So you've already
Classic.
committed to telling the story, right? So at least stick to your story, like
Yeah.
because the story is inherently fat phobic.
Mm-hmm.
So tell it,
Yeah.
you
A
know.
lot of Roald Dahl's, which I didn't realize when I was reading them growing up, but a lot of his things are rooted in fat phobia, and especially
Right.
like them being morally corrupt.
Hmm.
Because like, so Bruce fat, he steals cake. I mean, it's like a kid
Yeah.
stealing sugar, but like Miss Trunchbull's just awful all around. She's just not a good person. Also
Yes.
fat. Then there's in the 1996 Danny DeVito, which I would consider him a bigger guy.
Yeah, for sure.
He is obviously not the nicest person, and he's also fat. And then like not even in Matilda, like Willy Wonka, Augustus Gloop is like a greedy, like gluttonous guy. And so it really shows like the depiction of their moral character with being fat. So yeah, it's a
very political cartoon.
Yeah,
like classic. I mean, that's that's just how the story, like that's how he told the story. And you know, my whole thing is like, if there's a fat character, like I think you should have a fat person playing the character, because obviously, as we were talking about earlier, the job market, right? I don't think people who aren't fat really understand. I was listening to a critique on YouTube about a fat person's critique on Matilda, and they were just like dragging this person who wrote the article. I didn't look at the article that they were referring to, but they were just like, no one is entitled to a job just because you're fat, and just like giving the same old basic like talking points that like someone who just like genuinely doesn't know what they're talking about would. And like, we're not talking about like job entitlement. We're just talking about the fact that there can be a fat person who knows how to depict a character, who is an actor, like baseline, right? Does it make sense what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, there are fat actors, right?
Plenty.
And they had to, like, there had to have been some who auditioned for
sure
Bruce, so you just like did not choose them. And then
also, especially in the musical version, there have been so many rewrites and retellings of the story. You could also just like not have him be fat with the cake thing. Like, kids love sugar, whether they're skinny or fat. Like, he didn't necessarily have to be fat for that. And yeah.
I was talking to my friend who, she is a theater teacher, and they recently did Matilda, and she's like, I didn't cast my Bruce as a fat kid. I didn't know if it was because there was no fat kid, or because she was just like, I'm not telling the story as Bruce as a fat person. And I was like, cast a fat person. But like, obviously, like when I was thinking about it, I was like, yes, obviously all kids.
Yeah.
You know,
but I get where you're coming from, where it's like representation is so scarce that we want to like hold on to any little morsel that we're given.
For sure. And it's hard too, because the actor Bruce, I don't know his name, but he totally, I'm assuming, got like typecasted after that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, like, I don't think he did that much acting. I know he was in The Wedding Singer. That's really all I know.
I mean, it's not great representation, but also there's very few great representation.
Right, but also the story itself is fatphobic. So either take, like, no, like, I wouldn't take out the scene at all. But, like, I don't know. There's, again, a way to change it. And I guess it would be to lose the fat actor.
Yeah.
And just do it as a regular kid. And actually, I want to talk about what you were saying about how stealing is like morally corrupt, and so then it's represented by like from a fat kid or whatever. I noticed when I was rewatching that she accuses him of stealing the cake.
Yeah.
But he's like, you know, I don't remember stealing the cake. Like, so do we even know that he actually did it? I mean, he was like, it's hard for me to remember particular cake, which I thought was just a funny touch.
He's like, my mom's is better.
Oh yeah, my mom's is better.
I feel like that's when you're like, okay, maybe you did steal the cake.
Bruce Bogtrotter. Would little Brucey come up here, please? This boy, Bruce Bogtrotter, is none other than a vicious sneak thief You slithered like a serpent into the school kitchen and ate my personal snack! Do you deny it? Confess.
Well, it's hard for me to remember a specific cake.
This one was mine, and it was the most scrumptious cake in the entire world.
My mom's is better.
I also want to talk about the scene itself, like the classic "You Can Do It, Bruce."
Yeah. You can do it, Brucey.
I, like, as a kid, I don't remember what I was, like, my thoughts during that scene. Like, I only remember it watching now. Like, I think I more remember from Matilda's powers, and I thought that was really cool. I think maybe the only thing that I could kind of remember, like, my perception of as a kid watching the Bruce scene was that, like, I don't know if I could eat that much cake. Like, really really questioning, like, if I'd be able to do it or not. And then being like, maybe I could. And then me being like, no, I don't think I could do that. Like, I think that was my only thought. But I think it's so interesting how just for, like, a second, there's, like, a celebration, like, once he does finish the cake. Like, of all these kids cheering for this fat kid who just, like, pounded this cake.
You can do it, Brucey! You can do it, Bruce!
Yeah, you can do it!
Go, Bruce!
And it is, like, as an adult, it made me so happy. Of course, like, it ends by, like, I think Trunchbull hitting him,
She
and then
smashes the thing
smashing
on his head,
the
and
cake,
then he burps.
and then he makes that huge burp. So it's like it brings you back to, like, oh, this is fatphobic. But, like, you get that split second of celebration for the fat kid for doing that classic trope of, like, eating, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's just, like, such an interesting part of the movie.
Yeah.
If we're looking at it from the lens of that girl's talking about a fat kid eating cake, right?
Yeah. That's an interesting perspective, though, because especially with social media now, I don't ever show anything I eat on social media because I could literally eat a lettuce leaf and people would be like, you should really not eat that. That has blah, 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 blah. But then, like, a skinny girl can come on and eat, like, this huge McDonald's meal or whatever, or from wherever, and people are like, now that's a girl that can eat, or guys are like, that's hot. And I'm like, if a fat person was doing this, you guys would be villainizing them and, like, probably sending them fucking death threats, honestly.
Yeah, the double standard is definitely insane. And I've only shown myself eating, like, a few times. Like, I definitely don't show that on social media.
Like, I get enough hate without adding that layer to it.
For sure. And sometimes I amaze myself with some fat jokes that I think of in my head because I'm always thinking about what other people can say. Like, if I do this, how is it going to be perceived? And if I'm eating, a number of ways, right? Like, there's always, I remember, even in modeling, so there was this job, that one of my friends got, like, a submission to or something. It was for Fashion Week. It was like a Flamin' Hot Cheetos Fashion Week show or something like that. And the first thought that I thought of was, I could never do that because then I'm the fat girl who did the Flamin' Hot Cheetos Fashion Week show. right. And they were like, I didn't even think of that. And then I'm like, yeah, I did. I mean, it would be iconic looking back, but like that's my first reaction.
Yeah.
And then I have to bring it back and be like, okay, that's the story that other people are telling. That's not like the real story and the story that I'm telling. So
I can relate to that because sometimes I'll think about posting something, or I do post something and I'm like, how much money do you want to bet that someone's going to say this, this, and this?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because I'm like, I don't know if maybe in my brain I'm like, if I anticipate it, it will hurt less.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, it's like a self-defense.
I'm like, you're not creative. Get creative if you're going to try and like hurt my feelings type of thing. But
right.
Yeah.
But that's what I was saying. Like, I have some of the best fat jokes probably because I'm thinking of what the hell people are going to say about me. And sometimes honestly, most of the time it's just like old men hitting on me.
I'd rather have the hate comment, or like, honestly.
Yeah, instead of just like the messages, and I'm sure you get them. We all do. Yeah. We all do. It's like a universal thing. It's like if you have any mention of plus size in your account, or
the one thing, well, I mean, all of it drives me crazy, but especially when they refer to me as like a BBW, I'm like, that's a porn category. I'm a person.
And all
if
the
that's what you're into, cool, but I didn't consent to that interaction and you using me in that way, so like, let's not do that. So it's super fun being on the internet as a fat person.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes it's great. Other times it's interesting. I just think with the movie Fat Suits, no go.
Yeah, in general, like, you know, it's funny because I like grew up with this stuff, so obviously I know fat suits are bad, but like if you were to change the movie Matilda, take the actress out of the fat suit, I'd be like, it's changing my memory of the movie, so I'd be upset. But obviously, I don't think it was necessary.
Yeah, give fat people the job because there are plenty of amazing, talented fat people out there. And the thing I think a lot of people don't get is not only is it in this acting space in Hollywood, any job you are discriminated if you're fat. It's like proven that you are paid less as a fat person.
Absolutely. And so you and I know that, right? And it's hard to like really tell that to a person who is actively not wanting to believe it.
Yeah.
So, or like being like, where are you getting that data? Or like, that can't be true. Like, they just don't work hard enough. They're lazy. Like, that was like what I was listening to this person talk about in the YouTube interview when they were talking about when they were responding as to the writer who was saying that that person just should have been cast as Bruce, as Trunchbull. So they just don't understand, and it's hard because it's like I can argue my point forever. I think I'm just personally at a point in my life where if you're really not trying to hear it, I'm not willing to have the conversation because to me it's not worth it. I used to argue with people in my comments. I don't, for my mental health, I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm protecting my peace, you know, by not. So yeah.
Yeah, that's the most important thing, is to take care of yourself first before you go and deal with all of that, because it can be a lot.
Yeah. And, you know, maybe I'll be able to, like, be a keyboard warrior again, like I was back in the day, but I just can't do it anymore. Like, not right now. But again, maybe I'll, maybe, who knows, in a year or two.
Yeah.
Have you seen, you know the account Fly for a Ginger?
Yes, I've had her on the podcast.
Oh, really? That's so funny. So Victoria from Fly for a Ginger, or of Fly for a Ginger, does a great job at replying to the comments. She just posted a reel recently. I don't know if you saw it, but
I think I did.
It was really good, just of her responding to the hate comments, which she unfortunately gets a lot of. Because her account's really popular. It's way
Yeah.
popular than mine, so she's gonna get a lot more feedback. She does a really good job. I would check it out. Oh, I just thought of something. I want to go back to like eating the chocolate cake in Matilda. There's also another like eating reference, not reference, but like scene, where Miss Honey and Matilda are in Trunchbull's house.
Yeah.
And they like have the chocolates. And I always was like intrigued by the chocolates as a kid. Like way more than the chocolate cake that Bruce eats.
I mean, it kind of
I like to call him Gus.
It kind of puts you off of it when he has to eat the whole thing. You're like, I would barf. Ugh.
Right, because he eats the piece first, but then he ends up having to eat the whole cake. But but the chocolates, like, I would love to do one of those like movie. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm about to say. Where they serve you the food as they're eating it. Like that would be such an interesting movie to do. I'm sure they have done it. So yeah, I would just like love for one of the like to be sitting down in the movie and to like finally be able to eat that like golden wrapped chocolate that like looks so good but looks so disgusting when it's eating it.
Oh yeah. Much too good for children.
Much too good for children.
So good. But yeah, and then that is like the act of defiance is like even touching the chocolate.
Yeah.
Like which is interesting as well. There's another part where Miss Trunchbull is standing in front of the classroom, and this is right before the kids kick her out. Oh no, I'm sorry, it's not. This is right before the newt scene with the glass of water.
Okay.
When she's holding the glass of water and she has the newt on her. And she's like, I like a fat joke as much as the next person.
Oh yes.
And so I think I think she thinks that they're making fun of her because she's fat. Is that what that joke is? Like, I just want to confirm.
I would assume so.
They're laughing at her.
I mean, when I was in college, my like middle of my freshman year, right before the pandemic, I started working in childcare, and I still work with kids. And they can say some things. Some of them, obviously the younger ones, it's more just like curiosity, like especially if they don't have family members that are fat. They're like, why do you look different than people I know?
Right.
But then when they get older, it's just like in a rude way.
It starts to become intentional. Yeah, I've definitely experienced that too. I used to be a ceramics teacher for like 6 to 8 year olds. So like the 6-year-olds are the difference from the 6 to 8 year olds was like so drastic because the 6-year-old was still kind of like sweet, I guess, like and then the 8-year-old was like starting to, I don't know, like gain consciousness and like be a bully in the world. But
kind of cross that line between innocent curiosity and just being fatphobic and rude. And
so definitely like the comments that like the 8-year-old would make were not in like curiosity. Like they would know the answer and they would ask it anyway, like about someone's body.
So that's really the only way I can relate to Miss Trunchbull is, you know, I forgot that she said that. Like that joke. No, she's like, I like a joke as much as the next fat
person. Yes, that's what it is. I think I kind of had it mixed up when I said it.
I was like,
yes.
What's funny? Come on, spit it out. Speak up. I like a joke as well as the next fat person.
But also she's horrible. So like, not that they should be fatphobic because she's horrible, but
no, and she's a murderer, right?
Yeah,
like,
true.
which is what we think, right? Like
we just brush that off. We're like,
we're just like, oh, and she killed Magnus.
Yeah,
but that's really not. No one cares. We're not going to take this to the to the police, to law enforcement at all. We're going to do absolutely nothing with this information.
Yeah,
we're just going to let her leave.
Yeah, Miss Honey's like, I'm pretty sure she killed my dad, but I guess we'll never know.
Anyway, I'll adopt you, Matilda.
Yeah.
But, so do you know if she, because they change it in the musical, do you know if she gets adopted in the musical? Because from what I know, it's just like, you're going to stay with me now. Or in
I
the book,
can't.
rather. Does she get adopted in the book?
I remember in the book, she loses her powers at the end.
Oh, that's no
Because
fun.
they were like born out of necessity. And so
Oh, it
then
was
when
like a
she,
survival skill.
yeah, so then when she moves in with Miss Honey, she doesn't need them anymore. That's one thing
Hmm.
I liked about the movie more. I was like, let the girl keep her powers. Why are we
Oh,
getting rid
yeah.
of them?
I mean, I guess they could be symbolic, right? For
Yeah.
like the walls that you have to put up as
Symbolism.
as a kid, like you don't necessarily need to, like, if you act out as a bully because
Yeah.
you're not in a good home environment, you don't need to continue being bullied. But like the power
Mhm.
thing was cool,
Yeah.
so you should be able to keep
Just keep it.
that.
Yeah. Why not? But
Yeah.
I don't remember because it's been a minute since I've watched the musical. I honestly just rewatched the classic one yesterday because I was like, it just makes you feel good.
It's a
Even though
good
it
movie.
has, I know, it
It
really
has its
sucks
faults.
when movies that I loved as a kid and or love now that just feel so great and then I like rewatch them and I'm like, that was fatphobic. Damn it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like,
So my like little secret is that one of my favorite movies is Shallow Hal. And
no.
it was like my favorite movie as a kid.
Okay. I
Like,
see. I didn't watch it
so,
till I was an adult, and so I saw it
oh,
through an
like,
adult's lens first.
right. Okay. So I loved that. I loved Jack Black as a kid. Like, I loved School of Rock. Like, School
Mm-hmm.
of Rock was like, oh my God, loved that. But this was before School of Rock. Like, loved Jack Black.
Yeah.
So now when I watch it, I'm like, I think of, I didn't even know who Gwyneth Paltrow was as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So like, and as a kid, I thought they were two different people. Like I thought they hired a fat actress, and I thought I know. Sorry, I know we're not talking about
No, you're
Shallow
fine.
Hal. I would honestly love to talk about this movie, but and I think of the music in Shallow Hal. Like I
Mm-hmm.
love the ending song. Like, but yeah. So
Yeah. That's
yeah, that's my secret. Like.
ironically, that's the episode that I had Victoria on for.
Oh my gosh, that's so
Yeah.
funny. I have to listen to it. But I will say, like, at the end, like, when he looks at her and he's like, "You're beautiful," I love that scene. Like,
Yeah, that is sweet. I
it
do
like
get
really,
that.
that, like, I love that part of the movie, even though it's Gwyneth Paltrow. Now, as an adult, I know, and I'm like, I hate you.
Yeah, I don't like that
It
either.
makes me love it less. um, but, like, I genuinely, like, love that moment between them.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's all we'll talk about Shallow Hal. But it was my favorite movie growing up, as well as Matilda was like one of my favorites.
Because always at the end,
Yeah, for
overall,
sure.
positive or negative fat representation for Matilda.
Oh, it's gonna have to be negative.
Yeah.
Like
Same for
it
me.
sucks. You know, it sucks because when like something beloved, like to you as a child, like really shows its true colors, when you're an adult, like it sucks.
Yeah.
But
Am I still gonna watch it? Yes.
yeah,
But
I think so. But definitely negative.
mm-hmm.
As I think honestly, the musical more than the
Yeah, I agree with that.
than the 1996 movie, especially
Mm-hmm.
there's like that. Well, I don't remember because I had to watch the musical in like so many parts. I don't remember the
Mm-hmm.
phys ed scene correct. Like,
Oh
but
yeah,
I just remember
he's
the
him Bruce not doing any of it. Is that what you're talking
right.
about?
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard some I don't know if this was true or if it was like someone making like a kind of a snarky comment on it. But they were like, he couldn't do it because then if he got all dirty and muddy, you'd see his pillow under his shirt and then it would ruin the illusion. So I don't
All I
know if
think
that's
of
actually
that's
true or
funny.
not. But
All I think of is just his little skinny legs like poking out.
I also wonder if that's because they're like, oh, fat people can't dance. And I'm like, but they definitely can. Like, I took dance for 11
Who said
years.
that? Is that like a generalization?
Yeah, I feel like they think like we can't move, therefore.
Oh, just move at all.
Yeah.
Some of the best dancers I've seen on my Instagram, on my internet are fat. Like, oh my God.
Fat
So,
people can do all sorts of things, guys.
oh, hell yeah. See, we know that.
Yeah.
But
That's good. Because we're fat and we do all types of things, and we know
That's
other
true.
fat people that do all types of things. But yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's another reason why it would have been nice to cast a fat kid, because then he could have busted a move. And people
For sure.
would be like, what?
Yeah. Not to continue this whole thing, but it's like, but I'm going to continue. Just like a fat kid also being the butt of a joke, like, I want to protect that too. So, like, you know that, like, a fat kid dancing would be funny because, like, would be perceived as funny to some people, you know, and that just, like, makes me angry because, like, for obvious reasons.
Yeah, I get that.
But, like, still, he should have danced regardless of if he was in a fat suit or not. I think he should have danced.
He should have
He
been.
sings that. He has a whole number at the end.
Yeah.
He has like a solo song.
But they were like, we can't let him show the pillow. Because I swear to God, it's a pillow. I swear that's all it is.
If no one has looked it up before, like, if you're listening and you don't know what we're talking about, you have to look up the image of Bruce in the movie musical with Emma Thompson.
Because it's something. Yeah, no, for sure negative, and definitely the Netflix movie musical version is worse than the original 1996
for sure.
movie.
For
Absolutely. Sure. All right. Is there anything else?
Like, yes, of course.
I always record and then I start editing and I'm like, I forgot to talk about this. And then I'm like, well, I'm not going to re-record it. So I guess it's just not going to.
Well, I mean, I think, like, if we're going to talk about anything else, like, we briefly touched on Danny DeVito.
That's true.
We, like, him as a morally corrupt character.
What an icon. Danny DeVito.
Right. I loved his narration. I think that's, like, something I really missed from the musical, is the narration. Just, like, in his Danny DeVito accent, narrating this, like, children's story is so fantastic.
They could have just brought him back. He could have narrated the musical.
Hell yeah.
He's still around.
And also, Matilda's brother, she's an only child in the musical.
Yes, I forgot about her brother.
So the brother, I would say, could be a fat representation, right?
Yeah.
Like,
he's also a jerk. They're all mean.
He's bad, and but Matilda, there's, like, I think the scenes, like, any scene where, like, I think food is being used to, like, against a person who is fat or can be interpreted as fat, right?
Yeah.
I think is fatphobic, obviously.
Yeah.
But so there's
the carrot.
Yes, the carrot.
Yeah.
Where Matilda just puts the carrot right back out.
Hey, dip face. Have a carrot.
Hey, have a carrot. Right back into his mouth. Like, that was a fat joke to me.
Like a pig with an apple in its mouth type
of
thing. Yeah. I forgot about her brother.
But there is another scene where like, food works out for Matilda and not him.
Yeah.
When they're in the restaurant because Harry got his money.
Her mom won bingo. I hit the double bingo.
Oh yes, her mom. I thought he sold one of his cars. I forgot. Yes, it is bingo. They go to the restaurant. All the cake flies up in the air and it lands on him, and Matilda just eats the cake.
Hey,
you're blowing my mind here. I'm just like, I'm like,
I love
you're
this
so
movie
right.
though. Like,
There's so many times when food is demonized
right.
towards fat people, and that, wow, yeah. The more you know, guys.
And I just keep coming back to that gold wrapped chocolate. Like, I love it so
still
much.
want it.
I still want it. And it is still such like a demonization of the food. Like, that kids can't have that candy. Anyway.
The Trunchbull kind of does do that also with the chocolate cake, where another not so great thing is demonizing food in a way like it's taken away as punishment, and it's also like forced on you as punishment, which is not a great way to have a relationship with food. That can lead to a lot of issues. So
for sure. And there's obviously like the corporal punishment as well, which isn't necessarily fatphobic. But you know what? I always wondered, because like there's nails coming out of the chokey and stuff, right? I was like, there, like a skinny kid would be pretty okay in the chokey.
Yeah.
You put a fat kid in the chokey and they're up against those nails, like
maybe that's why Bruce is the only fat kid. He just hasn't been to the chokey yet, and the rest of them have just like been punctured.
Right? Like these. Wait. There's one more I just remembered, which again I would love to do like the movie eating of this. When I don't remember if he has a name in the movie, but when Matilda first comes to school and they're talking about Miss Trunchbull, and there's the depiction of the kid eating the red and blue M&Ms, and she like squirts it out of his mouth and then throws him, and they're like, is he okay? And they're like, no, he's not okay, but he survived.
Yeah.
That's what you mean.
The Trunchbull makes a weekly visit to every classroom to show the teachers a thing or two about handling kids. And Julius Routwinkle ate 2 M&Ms during her lesson.
And she caught him?
Of course.
Was Julius okay?
After being thrown out the window? Of course he wasn't okay. He lived, if that's what you mean.
There's another like chocolate scene there where she's like, you can't have that.
You can't. Trunchbull is very much like, I can indulge, but you cannot.
Right, because I'm an adult. That's another like theme in it. Like, I'm right, I'm big, you're small. I'm right, you're wrong.
You're wrong. Yeah, type of thing.
Yeah.
There is a lot of food references in these movies. But
yeah.
If the listeners think of anything that we didn't cover, I'm sure there's something. I feel like we covered a lot. Yeah. And I'm sure we forgot something.
I'm like, the TV dinners could be. I mean, that's the thing about like healing from internalized fatphobia. Like, you're always gonna think about it. It's always gonna be on your mind. Like, the more and more you practice it, it gets better, right? But that inherent bias, I guess. So that's what I want to say. It'll always be there. Like, you're always gonna be aware of it. That like internalized fatphobia, even like the more work you do, and I think the better you think you are, that's when it like gets you, and you have to be like, the work is never done. Like, there's always more therapy that I can do that will break the cycle. Like, that's when it sneaks up on me, when I'm like, I'm super confident and I know what I'm talking about. That's when I forget myself and I am like, no, there's more work to be done, you know?
Yeah, I get that. Before we end the episode, is there anything you want to plug, like your social medias?
It's Angela Alba on Instagram, and I'm Greenhouse Fatty on TikTok, even though I don't post that much, but sometimes I do, and it's good. And that's it.
All right. And so thank you all for listening. As always, you can follow the podcast on Instagram at bbb.podcast and TikTok at bbb.thepodcast. You can follow me on all social media at Carolina Howie, Carolina with a K. And until next time, stay fat and fabulous. Bye.